Welcome to the Innovative Systems Podcast, Broadband Breakdown, where we dive into real-life challenges broadband leaders are facing and help them find solutions. This is your space for innovative ideas and expert solutions. Let's get started.
Welcome, everybody. And today I get the pleasure of introducing Peter Elliott, CEO of Telcom Insurance Group. Peter, thank you for joining us here today.
Brian, thanks for having me.
It was awesome to get the chance to talk with you a few months ago. And we got into a conversation about cyber insurance and everything else. And I want to kind of dig back into that with you. But first, if you get a second, do you mind just telling us a little bit about Telcom Insurance Group for those that might not know who you guys are?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. We're probably one of the most unique entities in a very old, tried and true industry group, which is insurance. From the perspective that our evolution, we started out as a captive insurance company. A group of rural independent telecom companies saw a need where there was no nationwide program, and the rates and coverages for their companies were all over the place. And they decided that it made sense to have a captive and to put their money in and take some risk. That then evolved to adding an insurance agency to sell and serve the product. And then in 2018, the group decided, of owners and directors, decided that it made sense to have our own actual insurance company, not just be a captive reinsurer, but to be out there in the market, providing that stability for telecommunications and related businesses. It's very common to see an insurance agency. It's very common to see an insurance company, but it's very rare that the two join together. And the benefits are somewhat undeniable when you put that combination. It's because it's so unique and so powerful.
You know, that just makes me think of our cooperative backgrounds for so many of our companies and how, you know what, we're going to do this together. We're going to figure out a way to take care of ourselves. And it sounds like that's exactly what your company's background is.
We've changed taglines over the years, but one of my favorite is stronger together. And it is that cooperative mentality. We have to have a for-profit aspect as well. As an insurance company, you need to retain some earnings and have good years so that when you have the bad ones, you can cover it. But cooperative is spot on. Great pickup.
Well, and you know, my discharge papers there. I'm a member of USAA, so I kind of get some of the same background. It seems like what you guys formed about is somewhat similar to what they came about from. So,
yeah, you know, whether it's a publicly traded company, and there are a lot of fantastic, very large insurance companies, or there are some smaller ones that are privately held. Their motives are often to feed who they need, be it the shareholders or themselves, and be it a USAA or a Telcom Insurance Group. Our focus is on the customer, and we do what we do to stay stable and strong, but not to ever go above and beyond for anyone's individual benefit.
Yeah. Well, we could have a ton of fun talking insurance probably across the entire platform. I know just looking at innovative customers, I've seen tornadoes, wind damage, floods, you name it these last few years. But really, I wanted to jump into the cybersecurity and cyber insurance aspect of all this. And that's what you and I talked about a few months ago. Do you mind giving a little background about cyber insurance? I say history, it's not that old, but yet it's probably changed immensely over the last few years.
Yeah, I know it's another great question and segue in. When you look at, insurance in general, it literally goes back to merchant ships and underwriters, Lloyd's of London, Edward Lloyd, signing under contracts for things that could happen. It's enormously old. When you look at the cyber component of it, we're talking about the early 2000s, where somebody decided that this risk was big enough that it indeed needed an insurance policy and a risk transfer mechanism to be associated with it, because the risks were too big for many businesses and individuals to retain. The evolution of it, even though we're talking about 26 year-ish of this product being out there, it's still considered immature.
Okay.
And I would say it truly is, because whether you take aspects of technology, AI being the one right now, I mean, used to be you couldn't go to a meeting or a conference where cyber was not the topic. It seems that AI may be taking that over now.
Don't forget
But
bead. We always had bead everywhere else.
feed is an issue as well. But it's, something like AI is still relatively new. Companies are just figuring out how to protect themselves and put guardrails in place within their own businesses, that the insurance community is kind of sitting back and watching that and saying, okay, we understand that some of these AI platforms can interact with your networks and other areas. Are they going to add another layer of risk? Could they expose data? I just heard, I think recently, and I say recently, it could have been 2 months ago, about an AI program being, there to work on a network or a platform, and it intentionally deleted a whole database. So if it's capable of doing that, why would it not be capable of taking that database and exposing it, whether intentionally or by error? And I think the other thing, when I say, again, in an immature market, even though it's 26 years old, the evolving of the incident has been very interesting to watch. Interesting and frustrating. Maybe I'll add
Yeah.
frustrating on there, because the interesting aspect was it was just a nightmare, and it was a big nightmare. My company was breached. Our data was exposed. Our customer data was exposed. I mean, that's a bad day, morning, whatever it hits you, that's a bad moment in time. But 12 months ago, that was really all there was associated with the claim. It was a very simple, ugly transaction. What we've seen evolve out of this, apparently legal firms did not have enough business in chasing ambulances and plaintiffs for class action suits, and they've turned their attention. At least many of them have turned their attention into the cyber world. And now they're basically stalking attorney general sites. And as soon as a company has an incident and has to report it, they're out there trying to gin up enough people for a class action suit to make this an ever prolonged incident, as opposed to just your worst nightmare of a couple months. And, as we all know, whether we talk technology or other things, social media is a very powerful, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or even a LinkedIn, that these law firms can infiltrate and find you and find people and victims just about everywhere
Yep.
very easily and very cost effectively. So, yeah, an immature market with a lot of evolution, even though it's got about 26 years under its belt.
That's incredible. And I didn't even think of the class action suit, but thinking of some of the incidents of customers I've been involved with, it makes a lot of sense where, again, like you said, lawyers drumming up business for themselves
Yeah.
and
Well,
creating more headaches.
without dropping names, because I think I would probably get myself into a lot of trouble for doing that. In one in particular situation that we had, where four different law firms were able to create four separate class actions that joined together. Unfortunately, in Illinois, which is known to be a area where plaintiffs and plaintiffs' attorneys do very, very well. What they ended up doing in that situation was finding the weak point, but the weak point turned out that the lead for class action participants, one that took the lead in starting the case, we found through investigation and trying to defend the situation that their data had been out there already multiple times. One of the lead plaintiffs, her information had been out there 18 times prior to the breach that these lawyers were trying to exploit. It didn't matter. At the end of the
Really?
day, amazingly, right? That the judge in the case who was doing the mediation said, "You're right. Her data was out there 18 other times, and this makes number 19. But you still did something wrong, and you should be punished for not protecting that data properly." But it's not really double jeopardy that people talk about. Can't be tried twice, but because the incident happened and it was the
Yep.
first time for our insured. but these claimants are able to make multiple approaches even after their data has already been exposed.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
horrifying.
It is, because the dollar amounts don't drop. And
No.
unfortunately, you and I probably have both received plenty of, whether it's email or postcards, where they say you were part of a class action suit. And if you took it the step further and went online and filed or sent in your paperwork, ultimately you find out what you're going to receive is very modest. I mean, a couple of dollars up to 100, I probably the most that I've ever seen. But the law firms that are doing this, that they're doing very, very well. And this is an anti-legal, podcast. I certainly respect lawyers and all that they do and the value that they bring, but this is just an area that's really evolving and exploding, and I don't see a whole lot of positive
Yeah.
things happening with it. It's just making, again, something that was a real nightmare into an extended nightmare with really a lot of pain that just really shouldn't be.
So, okay, let's try to change gears here then, because I agree with you. I mean, a free Starbucks coffee is great for a class action suit, but you're right. We don't want to go down that path. But if I'm a telco, what are things that I should be doing as, in your eyes, having seen so many of these and having had, claims filed, things like that? What are some of the trends you've seen, or what would you recommend if you are able to, what you generically like to see companies do better at?
Absolutely. The most simple thing that I'll throw out first is that cyber hygiene. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It can be having multi-factor authentication to some. In my mind, I'm talking cyber hygiene is just what data do you keep and where do you keep it? I'll say when I'm out speaking at conferences and events, and in my house, I've got this closet that I don't really need. So I pack a lot of stuff in there, usually stuff that I've bought online and I didn't see in person. And when it came in, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I didn't spend a lot of money on it, so I'm not sending it back, but it's going to go in that closet, but I didn't need it. When we start treating our data like that and holding on for it when we don't need it any longer, we had an ex-customer from 2000 and we still have their social security number in our network. That's just asking for more trouble. So my first and strongest, clean up your data. Keep what you need and only what you need. Separate it from everything else as best you can and lock that down as best as you can. The
What's your worst horror story that you've seen there? Because I've got one or two.
that legitimately is it. A company that kept a lot of information that they just didn't need anymore. And we saw numbers of 60,000 records that legitimately could have been 20.
Yep.
And either way, it's still an incident. It's still a problem, but it's less of a headache should they have done that. If I were to throw out other things as to what can telecoms do and internet providers do to protect themselves, I think in addition to just having good cyber data practices, protecting everything that they're doing ahead of time, because if we are going to go down a path that these class action suits are going to continue and that there's no end in sight to that, every decision that they're making about what to do with even things like their budget, how much are we going to spend on this? These are things that these attorneys on the plaintiff side are going to use against them eventually. So minimizing as much of that, protecting that as best as they can. If they've got an existing relationship with a counsel, whether it's in-house or external, getting that all under some sort of a privilege so that when the plaintiff's attorneys are going to paint you as incompetent, which they are going to try to do, they don't really have any facts behind it. They're simply saying, you had a breach. And because you had a breach, that shows some level of inability and incompetence, right? So, yeah, those would be some very high level, quick, easy ones to throw out.
Yeah, I did a Kaizen event at a customer, kind of best practice stuff. It was a cooperative.
Sure.
And God bless them, they were still having their members fill out a paper form with social security number that they
Yeah.
were then scanning in,
Yeah.
keeping the paper form in a hopefully it was locked desk drawer.
All right.
And then scanning it into our system where, our system has all kinds of securities where you can lock down who can see it, what encryption behind it, everything. They were just scanning it in, not assigning it any security to it. So even a field tech that, maybe just hired on or a contractor that have access to the system could pull up and see, oh, there's Susie's social security number and everything about her.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a lot of companies don't understand all the layers that are out there that they can lock stuff behind it and putting it behind those right locks to make sure that they're protected. It's amazing. Like you used the closet reference, and I'm like, how many offices have I walked into? And literally there is the paper closet of every form for the last 50 years with all kinds of information on it.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's paper, that's not digital, but there's still a security risk to all that.
I don't know if there's an aspect of this in it. I can be naive at times, and it's usually when I'm naive, it's because I'm believing in the goodness of humans. But this network of criminals and that's really what it is. I mean, I've been at events where they call them bad actors, or they call them a bunch of other things that sound really cute. They're not. They're heinous criminals that are out to do harm to individuals and to the United States of America. They are really good. It's a growing, evolving area. They treat themselves as if they are companies. I mean, we had one incident that occurred, and we don't go into the dark web chat room to start negotiating. We hire a negotiator to do it. But when they would make an offer and we would counter, well, we need to go speak with upper level management about what that is. And, they had a marketing department, they claimed, and they had customer service. I mean, they're big business.
Legit. Yeah.
And I think, the naive is people are good. Well, people are in general good, but these criminals that are in the cyber world that are attacking, they are not good. And there are a lot of them.
There are a lot. And, like you said, bad actors, I've heard different terms, but as sophisticated as their organizations are, it is a big business when you go out of the United States into a lot of these shadier parts of the world that are running these organizations.
Absolutely. And you don't see the government calling it acts of war or acts of terrorism. And I think there's probably some insurance implication to that, because once they start doing it, everybody's policies have exclusions, but they are from those areas that we are at war with. And to some degree, you'd almost call what they're doing an act of war for sure. I mean, it's a foreign state country coming after us, whether they're using a small individual group that they're sponsoring and paying. It still always ties back to the bigger countries and our enemies.
Pretty much. And they're attacking, in my mind, essential resources. Our broadband providers are essential to the economy, to the security of the areas they support, everything.
We once did a map to look at where a lot of the independent rurals were compared to some of the military bases. And it's also scary to see how close many of those are. And some of them to very sizable, and not just small military. So, there's another aspect. Not only do they want to shut down communications, but sometimes, what was Salt Typhoon? It was the ability to get in and start monitoring communication and data from third parties. And if you're right on top of a military installation, you're literally protecting the United States of America, not just your customers.
It is scary out there.
It is. Yeah.
Peter, any other bits of advice that we want to wrap up on for people? If I'm listening to this, what should I be looking at when it comes out to renewing my policy? What I should be looking for? What words should I be mentioning to my insurance provider?
Sure. The insurance industry is very much process and procedure oriented. And whether it's you buying insurance for your home or your auto, it starts with an application. And one of the problems that I see with an industry that I've been in over 38 years is that we really haven't adapted. The application may have gone from paper to something online. We may even have a way, if you contact us, to pre-fill a lot of it by doing basically an AI search and filling it in. But there's a level of importance to those applications. And when you get into lines like cyber insurance, you're not just signing the application, you're attesting to the information that's in there. And I understand that we all need an extra meeting, like we need a hole in the head, but I'll say that you can't have enough communication starting at the application point, going through receiving your quote and understanding what coverages you're getting. There's a lot of twisting of language that can occur. And then all the way up to the point after you bind your coverage, most people are like, whew, I'm done, right? I got my quote. I've got a policy coming and all that. But that's the point to now make sure that you understand who your main points of contact are, because Saturday morning or Monday morning or whatever morning it is, you come in and your screen has got that screen of death on it with all the information that you've been ransomed. You don't have time to go figure these things out. So by knowing who your breach coach is, by knowing who your forensics team will be, you can get back to doing what you need to do, which is start trying to recover from the incident so that you can take care of your customers. And you've already got a working relationship. So you know that the forensics team is going to want a group of logs where if you don't have that relationship established, like, oh my goodness, I've got to go get my old backup tapes and I've got to restore 20 computers. You don't have time to get those logs. But if you're communicated well with them ahead of time, you know what you need. You've got somebody that's responsible for it who may not be mission critical to getting the business back together. So, I think in general, just the communication around this is so critical. And I'll add one more to it. Knowing what you know and what you don't know. I at one time heard somebody in the insurance industry say that they were a cyber insurance engineer. And I went,
Okay.
Whoa. I know insurance, but I don't know IT. I know IT enough to be on this podcast with you and how to turn my computer on and off and use it, and maybe a couple a little more advanced techniques, but I'm not an IT person. And when a claim happens, the insurance company isn't even that critical to you. It's your support vendors that are. So, establishing relationships, communications, if I really had to boil it down to something simple, those are just critical to what you do.
Couldn't say more. The number of calls I've gotten and our IT team has gotten to help people out when, and they know exactly who to reach out to help them out in those situations with us. It's been very helpful for on all
Absolutely.
sides. So. Yeah. Peter, I appreciate your time. I know, like you said, one more meeting, none of us need it, but I do think the information you shared will go over very well. And I appreciate you taking the time to share that with us today.
Amazing. I enjoy talking about insurance. Some people don't like listening to me talk about it, but I've got a passion for what I do and protecting the telecom industry, and any opportunity I get to speak. And if somebody picks up one thing, two things from this that help them at some point in time, I feel good about what I've done. So I really greatly appreciate you and Innovative Systems for all that you're doing and for inviting me today to spend some time with you.
Peter, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you at a show soon.
Great. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Broadband Breakdown. Got a problem you need advice on or a story to share? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay connected and keep pushing for progress in rural America.